Hey guys, how's it going? Kripp here. So many people have asked me over the last couple days, more specifically today, about what I do with my ranger in world PvP. Now, the reason I said most today is because I was a pretty big noob. I still don't really know what's going on, completely. But I'm getting a lot better. We pretty much demolished everything in World of World today, and some people are really curious because they see the strength in the spec. Because I think the spec is pretty strong, even though I am not, the best player yet. So let me show you what I got, and hopefully you can see the success in it, and maybe you at least use that as part of your own ranger spec, or you can use parallels to your own class. So I'm going to go over the really basic stuff first, and then we're going to see how it works together. I'll show you guys a few combos. So first, the gear. Now the gear I have is pretty good. I use all Berserker gear. So this is like different names because I transmogged it, but it's all Berserker gear. It's all Berserker medium gear, and it has 6 runes of the Scholar. I don't really know why it has 13 of 6, but I don't know. I got one on my hat, so I think it's because my PvP gear has 6. But it's 7 of 6. It's 6 on the armor and then 1 on the aquatic helm, because when you go underwater, your helm is replaced by your aquatic helm. So if you want the 6-piece bonus underwater, you have to get a 7th rune for your aquatic helm. So yeah, Berserker gear is pretty standard. It's high power, normalized precision, and normalized crit damage. It's overall the highest damage gear that you can get, but it has 0 defensive stats. So you are, in the very truest sense, a glass cannon. And the same goes for the jewelry. I got the back piece for Berserker. It cost like 5 gold, but I mean, I want min-max, so I just got it. Exquisite jewel that shit up. Complete Berserker jewelry and Berserker weapons. These are 2 bows that I use, and I don't only use bows. I use the longbow, I use the short bow, and I use the war horn. See, what I do is I have my bow on. I'm just running someplace. I drop combat. I put on my war horn. I cast the war horn. I go back to my bow. So I use the war horn a lot, but also in very select situations, I use the war horn in conjunction with a one-handed axe, which is also, to no surprise, Berserker stats. As for runes, on the axe I use Flame AoE. It's a proc trigger that does about 1100 damage with my level of gear. For the offhand, I use power each time I kill a foe, because sometimes I happen to get a kill when I'm using the Warhorn. If I want to use the Warhorn plus the axe, and I have max stacks, because this 25 max stacks, I would then switch my Warhorn with my other identical Berserker Warhorn. As for the bows, I use the Fire Sigil as well on my longbow, because the longbow does a lot of AoE attacks, and that's going to proc an AoE sigil. For the short bow, I use the Lightning Strike. It's also a proc signet, proc sigil, and the problem is that this does share the same cooldown. Every single damage-based proc sigil that you have on your character is going to share the same cooldown. So there is some issues with that, but through the limited testing that I have done, it does beat the 5% damage and the 5% crit. So that's about it. Also, I use the Bloodlust on my Stingray, because if I get an underwater kill, that attack power bonus will still be there when I use a bow on land at a later time. Now, my stats are heavily based on attack and crit damage and crit chance. So my health is 15k, this is base, this is 0 bonus health, and my toughness is a little bit improved. Let me show you the improvements that I have with my trait tree. So these are my traits. The spec is 30-30-5-0-5. I didn't copy this anywhere, I just came up with it on myself. So that's why there's probably room for optimizations, but I think it's a very solid base if you want to play the same way I do. So I have 30 in marksmanship. Marksman gives you power and condition duration. Condition duration is not particularly useful, but the power is. So just looking at it real quick, vulnerability on your first strike when you enter combat, it's called opening strike. Pets have opening strike, so your pets also do vulnerability and crit on their first attack. And precise strike, so your first strike and your pet's first strike always crit. Okay. At the beginning, I have steady focus, so when your endurance is full, you do 10% more damage. I feel that's good, but you know, could be better. But I just want the max damage right away. And I got Eagle Eye. This increases your longbow range from 1200 to 1500, which is a very big deal in World v World. And damage by 5%, I mean, whatever. And all arrow attacks pierce targets. I think this is crucial in World PvP because there's so many targets that when you want to focus one down, he's almost always going to run away. If he does it, he's going to die anyway. But the ones that are going to be harder to kill, which is the ones that you usually want to try to kill, they're going to like run away, they're going to run behind other targets, they're going to have pets. There's always going to be shit in the way, and you don't want that to, you know, disturb you from doing damage. And also, there's certain positioning tactics that you can use with bow to take advantage of this trait. I think this is extremely powerful. There's a 100% chance to pierce with your bow attacks. And remember, you're double bow ranger. So now I got skirmishing. Skirmishing is piercing, precision, which is crit, and then crit damage, which is crit damage. So crit and crit damage. You know, these synergize pretty damn well, as you've known in Diablo 3. To gain swiftness when swapping weapons in combat, so I swap weapons a lot. You gain fury when swapping weapons in combat, same thing. And you have deal 10% more damage while flanking. Flanking, I think, is from the sides or from the back. If you attack a target, you gain the flanking bonus, which is in this case 10% more damage. So if a target is looking at you, you're not going to get 10%, but if he's running away or if you hit him from the side, from an angle, you're going to get 10% more damage. And the traits I chose are chance to cause bleeding on critical hits. It's a very small thing, it's like a 1-second bleed, but it's extra damage. Quick draw, short bow, and longbow skills recharge 20% faster. Big deal right here. You know, you're using 2 bows, and those are it. So this reduces the cooldowns on all of your attacks for the most part, unless you're using the axe warhorn, of course. And primal reflexes. You gain 5 seconds of vigor when you're struck by a critical hit. Can only trigger once every 15 seconds. What vigor does is it doubles the amount of endurance that you regenerate over time. So endurance is your dodge meter. So basically, when you're running around, you don't know what's going on, some guy hits you, it crits you, you gain vigor, so you can dodge a little bit extra. I like this over some of the other talents, but you know, I have it in the last slide just to show you guys a few things. So there's like Moment of Clarity. I'm not really sure what that does. It's like Attack of Opportunity. Never tested it. That might be better. There are a few others that are quite good though. There is a lot of pet damage talents. So you have the pet moves 30% faster, and you have the critical hits grant might to your pets, and you have pets do 30% more damage on critical hits. This is pretty much 30% crit damage for the pet. So you can get a lot of pet damage through skirmishing, but I chose not to because I don't really use my pets for anything but a buff. Okay, now I have 5 in Wilderness Survival. This is really not a big deal, but it increased endurance reduction by 50%. It's pretty good because it's a little bit of survival benefit and it's a little bit of a damage benefit, because when it's full, you know, you gain the damage bonus. So, you know, if you had to dodge a little bit and then you want to turn around and attack them, you're going to get that damage bonus sooner rather than later. So that's why I chose that, plus a little bit of toughness. I mean, why not? No big deal. Condition damage, you know, whatever. But this is where it's at. This shit is crazy overpowered. 5 in Beast Mastery. You and your pet gain 2 seconds of quickness when you swap pets. So you're like, what is quickness? Quickness is also gained by this ability right here, Quickening Zephyr. Quickness. Skills and actions are twice as fast. And with Quickening Zephyr, you cannot be healed during the duration. So you have to be careful with your heals. Now, this thing pretty much trivializes the game, because in this game, your attack uptime is very small, because there's a lot of range issues, there's a lot of, like, you know, obstruction issues when shit is in the way of the stuff you want to attack. The time period of you actually able to connect an attack with your target is very small, and the fact that you can double the amount of attacks or actions within that time period is extremely significant. There is some other ways to gain quickness, but it's like through procs and stuff. I think that's garbage. Predictable quickness is the most powerful thing in this game, and you have 2 sources of it. you have it through pet swaps, and you have an ability you can use. You know, I went over, you know, after the fact, after choosing a ranger, I went over all the things that all the other classes have. And there's one thing, only one, that the rangers have above every other class, and that's the ability to gain repetitive, predictable levels of quickness. And that can give you, if used correctly, a very big advantage, especially over weaker foes, which is pretty much the majority of the people that you find in World v. World. Now, moving on to the talents, I'll just quickly review here. So I have Protect Me. Protect Me is a shout, so when you cast Protect Me, the pet that you have takes all the damage you would take. You can still be CC'd though, so it's not like a get out of jail free card, but it's pretty good. If I'm struggling, if I'm at like 10% life and some guy jumps in with 100%, I can usually hit Protect Me and Quickening Zephyr, and they'll be flat on their ass pretty fast. The last one I have is Signet of the Hunt, 10% movement speed for you and your pet. It's just kind of like a passive signet, but I feel it's really strong. Movement speed is very, very powerful in this game. There's a few other options, but I cannot give this one up. I just can't. And then I have Rampage as one. It's a pretty, in my opinion, mediocre talent because I don't usually need stability. I usually use Rampage as one for the damage and the swiftness benefit. Another option is for your elite skill, the Entangle. Because I don't have any condition damage, this thing does like no damage, but it's still a very strong root. It's an AoE root, and they can't really get out of it until they kill the vines that are entangling the target. So it's also a very powerful ability, but I like the Fury a little bit better. I'd rather get away with my swiftness or do a little bit more damage than control the targets. I think control is a little bit overrated in this game because of the fact that it can miss from people evading your attacks. And also the heal. I have Heal as one. I use Heal as one because it has a low cooldown. I can't say it's better, but I kind of like it a little bit better than the alternative, which is Healing Spring. Healing Spring has the benefit that it has a very fast cast time. Healing Spring is like 0.5 seconds, where Heal as one is like 3 or 2 seconds cast. It's very long. So if you feel that you're going down really fast, Healing Spring is going to save you. Heal as one, probably not. But because I have Protect Me, I can usually do Protect Me to save me, and then at a later time I can cast a heal. That's usually how I do these things, but Healing Spring is overall a better heal. It's just the fact that it has a 30-second cooldown as opposed to a 20-second cooldown. Now, abilities like Troll Ungut, heal you and your pet heal over time. This thing is really bad for this spec. For one, because you're going to take burst damage because you're a Berserker. You're not going to take much sustained damage. And also, heal over time are negated by the fact that you have Quickening Zephyr from this ability and the other, which are going to prevent healing during that time period. So it's like you pop the hot, and then you decide like 4 seconds later that you want to pop Quickness. Well, if you pop Quickness, half your heal was diminished. So in my opinion, stay away from Troll Ungut, but if you go with Healing Spring or Heal as one, you're good to go. Alright. Now, moving on to pets, I use a bear and a moa. I use the bear because it has very high vitality, and Protect Me takes your pet stats into account. So with this spec, if you go super glass cannon like I do, using a low vitality pet is not going to work. They're going to die absolutely instantly when you use this ability, and it's not really going to give you the defensive benefit that you want. And you have to keep in mind, in World v. World, you're not sending your pet into attack. You're going to click this button over here to avoid combat. If your pet's attacking, it's dying. If your pet's dying, you're not getting the quickness benefit, you're not getting the defensive benefit, and you're not getting their special ability. For the bear, you have a condition removal. This is absolutely necessary if you don't have the Healing Spring, because Healing Spring removes condition, Heal as one does not. So you need this bear for condition removal. If you use Healing Spring, maybe you can experiment with other high vitality pets, but the brown bear is still a very, very solid pet. The other pet that I use is a red moa. The red moa also has, as you can see, higher than normal vitality. It's not quite as high as a bear, but in my opinion, it wins because of its ability Furious Screech. So it's 30-second cooldown, 15-second duration, 20% crit from Fury. That's a very powerful ability. Sometimes I use this to prepare for a high damage attack. So let me show you guys how it plays out. So in the future, maybe even tomorrow, I'll upload like a world to world video so you can see in great detail how I use these strategies. But I'll just go over some of the basics, some of the damage strategies, and some of the methods that I use quickness. So usually when you're on a keep, let's just say there's some enemies up there. What you would typically do is you would use your number 5 on the longbow barrage, and it does like damage over time here. Let me see if I can get in better range. So you see it has a cast time. It's about 2 seconds, and the arrows fall down from the sky. So if people are on like the other side or on the top, they're gonna die as well, and that's pretty much what you're gonna want to do. But there's a few other things that you can do. When I'm at the keep, I'm usually in my short bow, and I'm trying to pick off a few people. So I'm just using my number 1, my crossfire, no big deal, just firing like that. And if I see someone die, or if I see someone get painfully low, what I would do is I would switch my weapons and then switch my pet. So I'd gain the fury, the swiftness, and the quickness, and then I would drop a barrage. The reason I would do this is the target would be dead or be almost dead when I'd start the barrage. And usually, in this case, his allies are going to try to go to him and res him. And 2 things usually happen. One, the guy dies anyway, and his friends just run away. The second thing that sometimes happens is the opposite. The friends all res him, so he gets resed, but because barrage does so much damage, all the other ones are dead. So you can do that shit again, and it's amazing. It's so powerful, and I really recommend you guys try this out. Another few abilities that I use every now and then, I use the point blank shot just to get targets away from me. Usually I prefer to run rather than put targets away, because I'm typically not scared of one target. If it's one target, I'm just going to pop over to short bow, use my crossfire auto attack, and then drop some quickening Zephyr. They're going to get demolished really fast. Here, let me just show you guys an example here. We got translucent ooze, level 80 targets. Look at that shit. It just went invis, so yeah. Now I'm on this one. I'm gonna pop some quickness and pop the barrage here, and it's down. That's how it works. The longbow is a very utility situation-based weapon. You use the barrage with a pet swap quickness, or you use the rapid fire with a pet swap quickness, because these are just very slow attacks. They leave the barrage, because you can't move during the cast, leaves you vulnerable, and the rapid fire they predict the damage. It's a lot of damage, but because they see it coming, they're going to evade roll. They're not going to die. The only way they're going to die is if you don't see it coming, or if you do it too quickly, and you can do that by popping a pet swap or by popping the quickening Zephyr. And you have the hunter shot, but honestly, I barely use this ability. For shorter ranges and killing people overall quicker, you use the short bow. This is mostly for single target, as I said. The crossfire is very, very overpowered. You just use that for damage. You can pop a poison volley if you want, but it's really not a big deal. Like, crossfire is where it's at. Poison volley, sure, every now and then. But you do have some powerful things in short bow as well. You have the quick shot, which acts as an evade. So if I'm on this ooze here, and I can predict an attack, but I have no more energy, I can just evade using that ability there. And I have the crippling shot, which is a snare, and then I have the concussive shot, which is a daze. Daze prevents mobs from casting anything. I'll just quickness real quick for this. There we go. So you can use concussive shot, which is a daze and a stun, just to keep your targets in place, and you can use crippling shots to prevent targets from getting away, so you can zerg them down a little bit better. But yeah, you just primarily use the crossfire. It's very, very simple. I used to use Warhorn primarily for Call of the Wild and Hunter's Call, but Hunter's Call is not very good in PvP. When you cast the Hawks on the target and the target leaves line of sight, they're not going to do any more damage, so it's pretty poor. You really use Warhorn only for the swiftness, and you can gain the swiftness out of combat when you're not even using a Warhorn. However, I just want to touch up on the axe. When do you use an axe? You use an axe when there's only 2 targets. If there's only 2 targets, the highest damage weapon in the game for a ranger is the axe. And that's because of the auto attack, which ping-pongs, so it hits the first target 2 times. And that's like, that's like almost 900 damage per attack. And trust me, it's much faster than a longbow. Not quite as fast as a short bow, but still very respectable. If you're up against 2 targets, or another 1 target with a pet, and you're the kind of guy that likes to use axe, just switch to axe, pop quickness, and they're gonna die instantly. It's hilarious. There's a few more tricks that I like to use on my ranger. So because you have many sources of predictable quickness from your quickening Zephyr and your pet swap, what I like to do is when I kill a target and it's kind of close in range, I would often do a pet swap quickness to cap him. Because when you kill a target in Guild Wars, they don't actually die. They're just in the down phase. When they're in the down phase, you have to do that pole attack, which is 3 seconds. It's painfully slow. That attack is actually halved in time if you pop a quickness cooldown. And because your pet swap is only 20 seconds, that 2 seconds of quickness is just enough. And you become the ultimate person capper. And that's just really cool. You get to secure a lot of kills, and you get to annoy the shit out of people in keeps. Rangers, in my opinion, they're overall a pretty mediocre class, maybe even below average. But if you play your strengths and you play it in World v World, you can do very, very well. Like I said, guys, I'll upload a few World v World videos just so you can see how all of this plays out in action. And maybe you can notice the strength of the spec that way as well. But for now, for the length of the video not to be too long, I hope you guys learned a few things and can use some of this information for your own character. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.